People want something gimmicky. They want something fancy when it comes down to diet. But all it takes is a good trip to the grocery store, possibly a little bit of meal prep if you don't have time to prepare your meals as you eat them, which most guys don't. So a couple times in the kitchen, couple times a week, cook up some healthy food. And that's going to get you to your weight loss goals. If you want to get ripped, you want to get jacked, you want to be the jacked dad, well, that's obviously going to require a little bit more time. But for basic fitness, 20 minutes, 3-4 times a week, you're going to be able to achieve that. You're just not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But 20 minutes, 3-4 times a week, that's going to get you, most guys, to most of their goals.
Let's impact some men today. I think we're going to do a great job. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Man Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode where we work to connect men in pursuit of their potential. We're doing that by putting wind in each other's sails to embrace discomfort, cultivate community, and unlock potential with some of the advice that we're going to be getting today from a really desired topic that we've gotten from our group. And if you haven't joined our closed men's group, The Modern Man on Facebook, I encourage you to do so. But one of the questions a lot of guys have been asking is, how do I keep up with my fitness when life gets busy? So joining us on the call today, I went out, I cultivated the man who had the unique skills and intelligence to solve this problem. Steve Lutsk, aka Dad Bod Steve, on Instagram, joining us. Steve, man, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. For a lot of folks who might not follow you on Instagram, if they're not one of the 208,000 followers that you have, I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourself really quick about who you are, what you do, and we can kind of jump into some of the discussion in terms of how men can keep up with their fitness when life gets busy.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Steve Lutsk. I live in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Manchester, New Hampshire, home of Adam Sandler, but I've been in LA for about 15 years. I was a personal trainer for 10 and then recently transitioned into a 100% online coach. I help busy men get in shape so they can live happier and healthier lives.
Oh yeah. And we know that it's a common problem a lot of us have, because I think the first thing when I talk to some guys and they talk about fitness, the first thing they say, man, I just don't have the time, right? I don't have the time. So my first question, man, is like, how much time do we actually need in a given week, maybe in a given day? How much time do we actually need to give ourselves the proper attention for our health?
Yeah, well, it really depends on your goals. And if your goal is weight loss, you really don't need that much time, because it doesn't take any time really to eat a little bit less. Excuse me, but to sneeze. And that's usually really what it comes down to. People want something gimmicky. They want something fancy when it comes down to diet. But all it takes is a good trip to the grocery store, possibly a little bit of meal prep if you don't have time to prepare your meals as you eat them, which most guys don't. So a couple times in the kitchen, couple times a week, cook up some healthy food. And that's going to get you to your weight loss goals. If you want to get ripped, you want to get jacked, you want to be the jacked dad, well, that's obviously going to require a little bit more time. But for basic fitness, 20 minutes, 3-4 times a week, you're going to be able to achieve that. You're just not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But 20 minutes, 3-4 times a week, that's going to get you, most guys, to most of their goals.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking pretty much an hour and a half a week, right? And with 24 hours in a day, that should be able to happen, right? We should be able to find that amount of time. So that debunks that first kind of threshold most people say is, I just don't have the time. I think it's the intentionality behind it, and something you touched on was the diet.
100%. And don't make me, if anybody says they don't have time, don't make me do a time audit with you, because the first thing to go is going to be the Netflix. Because the guys that tell me they have no time. They're all caught up on like 3 or 4 of the latest shows, yet they can't do some push-ups or body weight squats a few times a week. So it all comes down to prioritization.
Yeah, which I'm a big fan of your content, which it's just why I kind of reached out. And you actually have at-home workouts and things like that, because some guys think like I have to get a gym membership, I have to go to the gym, I have to do this, that, the other thing. How applicable is it if I just have a corner in my room, or maybe just a section in my house, the garage maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, how much do I actually need?
Yeah, well, it all comes down to goals. And let me take you back to the start of the pandemic. Gyms were closed, and I still had a boot camp to run, and I had a bunch of clients, and I didn't want to go out of business. So I took them through group workouts on Zoom,
Mhm.
body weight only. And for the better part of a year or even more, I helped a whole bunch of guys get in shape, stay in shape using just their body weight. So the minimum is you need a body that hopefully works pretty
Mhm.
well. And then you can get a little more advanced. Right next to me, I have my power block adjustable dumbbells. They go all the way up to 90 pounds. You pair that with a bench, a pull-up bar, maybe some resistance bands, and you can do some great workouts. Nothing's going to match a full gym, or some guys have garages that look like they could open up their own chapter of CrossFit, which is obviously great, but it all comes down to what you want to do. The answer is you can get it done with body weight, and then the more that you add, obviously the more that you can accomplish.
Yeah, and for the goals, I get the sense that really sets the tone of what you need, what you're gonna have
Mm,
to focus on. It all starts with your goals. And just for context, I love how on a couple posts you have, I'm 39 years old, 10% body fat year round.
yeah,
And I'm 34 years old, about 15 to 16% body fat.
sure.
My goal is about 14%. I like gummy bears, man. I can't let
Yeah.
it go. So my goal is a little bit more in the 13 to 14% body fat range. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I've been doing this for years, a lot of people
Yeah.
have heard about it, might want some more details on it. Intermittent fasting.
Oh, great. Yeah.
How
That's
does
my
that I love that. How does that help you maintain your goals? What does it look like? And for some people who are afraid of it, what exactly is it?
Yeah, so there's nothing to be afraid of. I used to be a lot more dogmatic about the benefits, but what they're finding is that it's really just an easier way to eat less throughout the day. So if you want to lose weight, you need some type of restriction, and that could come in the form of eliminating a macronutrient, getting rid of carbs, or getting rid of fat, or minimizing carbs, minimizing fat.
Mhm.
That's going to get you to eat less. Um, so you need some type of form of restriction, and you need the form of restriction that's easiest for you. And for the guys that aren't willing to get the MyFitnessPal app or some type of food tracking app, they're busy, they're eating food while they're working. They don't want to punch in. All right, I had 6 ounces of chicken, I had 5 ounces of sweet potato, whatever. So they're not willing to track their calories. Then minimizing your eating window to 8 hours, 10 hours, that's going to be enough of a restrictive thing to put into play that's going to help you limit your calories throughout the day. So, as far as additional benefits you get, that's up to debate. But what the major studies are finding is that intermittent fasting is just a really easy way to limit how much you eat without having to be really diligent with your tracking and weighing your food, getting out the food scale to weigh out your steak or anything like that. That's why I like it, because I tend to work with really busy guys. They want the easiest thing that they're going to be able to fit into their life, and intermittent fasting is the answer for a lot of guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I think you touched on it. The barrier of entry, right? Like I have a food scale right over here next to my desk, which probably
Yeah.
hasn't been used. I'll tell you what, this food scale, my wife uses it for her eBay business now to measure packages before sending them out. But I didn't enjoy that, right? It was just too much to measure all my macros. And as you mentioned, being a busy person, just adding something else I'd have to track and keep attention to just was not
Sure.
helpful. So intermittent fasting for me was that little cheat code of, okay, I'm just not going to eat until here, or I'm not going to eat
Yeah.
until there. Most of the time I'm so busy I miss breakfast anyway. So just kind of lean into that. The-
Yeah. So I was just going to say, sometimes it's as easy as skipping breakfast. And then on the other end of things, it's once dinner is done, it's nothing after that. It's no popcorn while you're watching TV. It's no gummy bears while you're watching TV. It's that, well, I know, I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. It's that the one follow that's going to help you eliminate a few hundred calories throughout the day that are the ones that are holding you back.
Yeah, I mean, and for the people who might be listening where they deal with, being hangry, I know some people are like, dude, if I don't have any food within the first couple hours of the day, I get mad. Um, I found that I actually got used to it. Is that
Yeah.
something you found, like, kind of your body kind of just realizes after some time, like, all right, this dude's just not going to eat before noon. So,
Yeah, so it all depends on the person. For me, I want to say I was hungry for the first maybe week. I got used to it really, really quickly.
mhm,
And it's really kind of a psychological thing. If you're used to eating as soon as you wake up, well, you're going to get those hunger signals that tell your brain, well, I'm hungry. And it's only because you're used to eating at that time. It's not because you really need that bowl of cereal or anything like that. And for a lot of guys, it's a couple days of discomfort, and then you get used to it, especially if you're busy, if you're running around, you're working, get a cup of coffee in you. That's going to help with the hunger. And if you're distracted, then it really doesn't take long
yeah.
to get used to. Sometimes I can go until 2 p.m. I'm really, really busy and I don't even think about food. And it's not because I have more will, it's just what you're used to.
Mhm.
So intermittent fasting doesn't work for everybody, or sometimes you have to reverse it. You eat breakfast, and if you have the type of schedule that'll allow it, maybe your last meal is done at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and there's nothing after that, but you can eat breakfast first thing in the morning. And it
Mhm.
all depends on when you're working out. It depends on your social situation. No one wants to be the guy that goes out to dinner at
Mhm.
6:30 at night and you can't eat because it's outside of your eating window. You have to have some wiggle room with it.
Yeah, that's kind of some of the barrier of entry as well. It's like, okay, if you have a social lifestyle, you don't want
Yeah.
to be that person out there sipping water while everybody's eating a steak. And for folks that listen or watch, they know. So my schedule, I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I go into work 3 o'clock. I work in TV, so I work on the morning
Yeah.
news. I don't eat at all throughout my newscast. This is a 6 hour morning show from 4 to 10 a.m. I go
Yeah.
home and then I'll even do a fasted workout, and then I'll have my first meal usually post workout. If I'm really famished, really hungry, I'll eat like a banana or something before my workout
Sure.
just to get some sugar in me to help kind of kickstart the body. But fasted workouts, I mean, I've seen a lot of headlines around that where people are leaning into fasted workouts. I don't necessarily do it for that. It's just kind of how my day goes. Is there any benefits to being fasted when you kind of take the workout time frame?
Anecdotally, yes, like the top bodybuilders in the world swear by fasted cardio first thing in the morning, but a lot of the research that's coming out now says that it has no benefit whatsoever. The most important thing is going to be total calories you consume throughout the day. Obviously, the quality of your food plays into that, but if you do cardio fasted first thing in the morning, there's not going to be any additional benefit that you get versus just a caloric restriction.
Mhm. That's it. Well, I'm interested to know what your fitness journey was like, because I think it's easy for a lot of people to see kind of the finished product, like, oh my God, all right, 39, 10% body fat. My man's ripped, killing it. But I mean, kind of like what I mentioned beforehand, my fitness journey has had peaks and valleys. Currently enjoying a peak right now, but I mean, my recent valley was last year when I got married. The stress of the marriage, and then honeymoon, and then got a new job, moved to a new city. My gym time just wasn't there like it was
Sure.
supposed to be, and that was a little bit of a lull. I'm interested to know what your journey was like, if there's been ups, downs, if there's a moment where you're like, I gotta get things together, or did you come out the womb with the six packs and
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah, quite the opposite. So I started training when I was 20 years old, and it was due to having the worst dating life you could possibly imagine. I went through high school pretty much girlfriendless. started college, and I was like, all right, it's going to turn around in college. I watched a lot of movies about kids going to college and, what happens in college, that type of stuff. And it just wasn't happening for me. And I was like, all right, something's got to change. I got to stop making fun of the people that are working out, because that's what I used to do. I used to be like, why would you run around in a circle? That's stupid. Or why would you lift weights? I was the class clown. I had no problem entertaining people, being friends with people, but I wasn't getting any dates. And I said, all right, well, let's take a look at the guys that are getting dates, that have an awesome social life. They seem to have their life together in ways that I don't, and they tend to take care of their bodies a lot more than I do. I was drinking a lot of soda, eating a lot of fast food, wasn't confident with my shirt off. Like, I wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I wasn't obese, but I was skinny fat. Just like, I remember one of my friends made fun of me one time, and he's like, dude, how are your arms so skinny and then your belly still hits the table when you play beer pong? And I was like, I don't know. I looked like a cartoon character. I had this weird body. I hated taking my shirt off. So I looked up on my wall, and there was a picture of Tupac, and he had no shirt, and he had the Thug Life tattoo, which I still haven't got. But I was like, Tupac's body is attainable. He looks good. It's not crazy like Ronnie Coleman jacked, but I think I could achieve that. So I got down, I started doing push-ups. I noted how many I did. The next day I did one or two more. Day after that I did one or two more. A couple months went by, and for the first time in my life, I had like triceps on my arms. I had muscles on my arms. I started getting pecs. So I found that if I just tracked my reps and did a little better each time, I would get results. So that's a big thing guys miss. Tracking is huge. You're going to strive for that extra rep. You're going to push yourself. You're going to get to that level of discomfort that's required in order for your body to actually change. And then shortly after, I started getting confidence, and I started being able to talk to girls. I started getting dates, and it wasn't because they were like, ooh, Steve has muscles. It had nothing to do with that. They had no idea it was New Hampshire. I was wearing sweaters, but I just had this thing that clicked on in my brain, where maybe I just carried myself different. I had the ability to talk to girls. I started getting dates. I made a connection, and I was just hooked into the workouts. And so for the last 20 years, that just stuck with me. I had that really, really strong connection. I haven't really had any valleys. I've just made steady progress the whole time, because I love the process of working out. I fell in love with weight training. I love how I feel when I'm in the gym. I enjoy hitting personal records from workout to workout. It's like some people love beating a level in a video game. Oh, I want to get 5 more pounds on in my incline dumbbell press. That's what does it for me. I love the feeling when my muscles are pumped up in the gym, and I've been hooked. I've enjoyed the whole process. And that's kind of what led me up to where I am today. So it's been 20 years of consistency, which is weird to say, but it goes by like that when you enjoy it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you kind of taking us through that, because so many people will feel like, oh man, how can I do that? And what's real is I picked up on the fact that you started with the goal, or you started with Tupac's body is attainable, right?
Yeah.
We look at Instagram, and how many times are we scrolling through Instagram? For anybody who might have any fitness desires, the moment they type in fitness and Instagram, they're served some body styles which look great, but might not be realistic for them, or might not be realistic instantly for them, or might not be something that they can attain in just a little bit. But I've always said, when somebody sticks to a routine, and I love that you said track, because my friend says what gets measured gets managed, right? If you don't measure your progress, you're not managing your progress, and it's just not going to be there. But once you start seeing the progress, something clicks, like you said. You all ultimately end up seeing that you have control over the outcome of what your body looks like.
100%. Then, like, one other little thing that I did, it all comes down to tracking and having little goals along the way. Like, so a lot of guys will say, all right, I want to look like Ronnie Coleman, but you skip the Tupac step. And then I guess let's draw a straight line from Tupac to Ronnie Coleman. You got to look like Tupac. Then I guess you could look like 50 Cent, then LL Cool J, and then and then you get to Ronnie. So here's what I did. When I first started training, I looked at guys in the gym that I kind of wanted to look like. They weren't the super jacked meathead. I had no concept of ever looking like that. But I was like, all right, those guys, They look better than I do. I'm pressing 35s. They're pressing 60s. How do I do that? So I said, all right, I'm at 35s. Next month, I'll be at 40s. Month after that, 45. So if we just do 5 pounds a month, I could look like those guys that look a hell of a lot better than I do in 6 months or so. So it's not going to be overnight. It's not so overwhelming that I have to worry about lifting the 150-pound dumbbells. But if I just take it 5 pounds at a time, I have a straight line that I can follow to get there, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah. How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time.
Delicious.
While we're on the topic of tracking, I see it on your wrist. You probably see it on mine. I've loved this thing. And I remember when I first got it, my wife was like, why do you need that thing to tell you if you're tired or this, the other thing? And I'm like, this is a speedometer for my life. And anybody that's listening and not watching on YouTube, we're holding up our wrists for our Whoop band. And I love the thing. It tracks my sleep. It tracks my activities. I had a workout earlier today. How has that been a game changer for you? And what do you utilize the Whoop for? Like, I'm interested to know your process with using the Whoop. What do you look into when you look at your numbers and your monthly outputs and weekly outputs and things like that?
Yeah, I love Whoop, and I'm not just required to say that. I actually work with them. You see me in their ads and stuff, so I'm glad you brought that up. I love Whoop, but I started using it well before they contacted me. I was using it for probably over a year. Then they saw me use it in the videos, and now I work with them. But I love it because, it all comes down to finding things that you can improve. I've turned into a sleep geek. The first thing that Whoop told me was that I wasn't sleeping enough.
Same.
So here's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is, let's say you go to bed at 11 o'clock, you wake up at 7 a.m. You say, all right, that was pretty good. 8 hours of sleep, because I fell asleep at 11, woke up at 7. That's 8 hours. But what you don't realize is that there's different stages in your sleep, and that there's a good chance that you were awake for an hour, you didn't even realize it. So maybe you're getting 7 hours, you think you're getting 8, or maybe you're only getting 6 hours, you think you're getting 7. And as you get older, I'm turning 40 in 2 days, you need more sleep, you need more recovery, you can't go beast mode all the time. So one thing that Whoop had me start doing is I get an extra hour of sleep because I wear this thing, and I get much better results. I feel a lot better, and it's fun to watch that recovery score go up gradually over time, and figuring out kind of what exactly you did on that night to get a good score versus what you did on the night where you didn't get a good score. So a couple things I found out is I need to go to bed with a totally empty stomach. Can't have anything in my stomach. If you're digesting, your body's not totally shutting down. Other things I needed to realize: when I do open mat jujitsu on Sunday, I can't go for the full hour and a half, or my recovery score is garbage the next day. I overdid it. So I have to limit myself to 45 minutes to an hour of going hard. I'm a beast for the full hour, but that extra 30 minutes isn't serving me. So it's helped me a lot with my recovery. It's helped me a lot with kind of fine tuning my workouts to make sure that I'm actually getting results from them. You need a stimulus, but you need to be able to recover from that stimulus. And if you're training 6 days a week, 90 minutes every single time, you could actually be doing more harm than good. So Whoop has helped me take it back a little bit, but actually get better results as a result of that. I love this thing. It's great.
Yeah, no, I love it too. And that's been huge. I mean, the thing still yells at me that I don't get enough sleep, but I keep trying to tell it. I wake up at 2 a.m. Like, there's not much I can do. But no, but you're so right. And I tell my wife that this is speedometer for my life. And the best thing is when we talk about busy men and they're looking for the hacks, we might not all have the financial ability to just purchase things, but this is not that bad. I think it's $18 a month. And the band itself is free, but like at the end of the day, and I'm not being paid to say this, I'm just I do not work with them. Steve does. So listen to me. Now I'm playing. But no, the reality is it's very affordable. I enjoy the results, and it does allow me to tweak things in my day, and it allows me to tweak some of my behaviors and see exactly how it plays out. And it does it automatically. You even charge with the thing still on. So for anybody who might be concerned about, time-wise, this thing's not going to cost more time for you in your life.
It's a monthly subscription, but I promise you it's that the cost is less than half of one of your bar tabs if you're going to the bar. So if you can afford
Hmm.
to go to the bar, you can afford a Whoop, and it's going to get you a lot more down the road than any bar tab will. So
Yeah.
worthwhile investment.
I love that you mentioned that because I wrote down, I wasn't going to bring it up till now that I love gummy bears, but I love gummy bears. And what I mean by that is we all have our indulgences, right? And early on,
Mhm.
you said when it comes to weight loss, it's not necessarily just a concept of time. It's more or less kind of what you're eating, what your habits are,
Yeah.
the hidden calories in the drinks that we have in the weekend, right? And all these hidden sugars in the products that we might be eating, processed sugar and processed food. What are some of the, I guess, the go-to foods that we should maybe start leaning into to add to our shopping list or to kind of incorporate into our diet to start at the very least not changing a thing, but maybe seeing some improvement?
Yeah, so the good news is you don't have to change grocery stores. You don't have to go from your local chain to trying to go to Whole Foods and spending your whole paycheck on the grocery store. But a couple good rules of thumb: stick to the outer perimeter of the grocery store. I didn't come up with that, but it's one of those rules that really makes sense. That's where you're going to find all of the foods that fall under the great grandpa rule. So there's a good chance that if your great grandpa would have recognized it, then you could allow it in your diet in some way, shape. So there are some aisles that your great grandpa would walk down and he'd be like, "What the hell is this? All this stuff and packaging. I can't even pronounce that. All the ingredients on this package." So you want to try to avoid all that middle stuff. If I walked down the cereal aisle the other day and it blows my mind, it's like an amusement park walking down the cereal aisle, and people
Mhm.
give that stuff. People are eating that stuff every single day, and it has flashy words on it, organic or includes vitamins. Not good for you, man. Loaded with sugar, loaded with all kinds of crap. So first things first, start on the outer perimeter of the grocery store. You're going to find your produce. You're going to find your lean meats, your fruits, all that good stuff that you can eat. So there's an interesting study that I like to talk about. It's really telling. They took two groups of people, and one group they allowed them to eat whatever they want, and the only food that they gave them was unprocessed food, so stuff your great grandparents would recognize. And then the other group, they gave them nothing but processed food. So same versions, same amounts. They said gave them 3 meals a day. And what they found is the unprocessed group, the great grandpa method group, they ate on average, without counting, without trying, 500 calories less per day.
Hmm.
And after 2 weeks, they switched the groups around, and the exact same thing happened. The unprocessed group ate 500 calories less per day. The processed group ate 500 calories more. The processed group gained on average 2 pounds, and the unprocessed group lost on average 2 pounds. I think I'm getting that part right, but the 500 calorie thing is spot on. So what that's telling us is if you focus on eating minimally processed food or unprocessed food 90% of the time, you're not going to need to be diligent with tracking your macros. You're going to have that built-in satiety. Try overeating apples or oranges or broccoli. You're not going to overeat it. You're not going to be like, I can't stop putting this broccoli into my mouth. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas get a can of Pringles, it says it right on the can. Once you pop, you can't stop. And that's the same with a lot of those processed foods. So that would be my biggest recommendation.
Yeah.
Minimally processed food's the way to go. It's going to solve 90% of your problems right there.
Yeah, and I think some of that comes down to it's like the complex carbs, simple carbs, where like you eat a fast food meal like McDonald's or something, and you're hungry
Yeah.
in like an hour. Meanwhile, I did keto at one point. I did that for about 8 months, and I saw some good fat loss from it. But what I found was it was extremely hard to get my daily calories eating keto because, I mean, I know a lot of people use it to like, oh, I can just eat all the meat and cheese I want. No, like you want to have some fruits and veggies, and I would have these huge Cobb salads with nuts and everything in it. And no matter what I did, I would be full before getting my full calorie count. So people don't realize that these nutrient rich foods, these foods on the outside of the aisle, or these foods that I like to say were once alive, whether it's a plant, an
Yeah.
animal, something
Mm-hmm.
like that, foods that were once alive. They're really hard to overeat.
Yeah, they really are. but they
Yeah.
get the nutrients, they got the fiber. A lot of those simple carbs don't have the fiber, so they're not going to fill up your stomach, and you
Mhm.
can just eat them indefinitely.
What's I guess as we come to the end of the episode and everything, as someone who's listened to this whole thing and they're kind of like, okay, you know what? I know I'm busy, but maybe it's time to block out some
Mhm.
time on the calendar or whatnot. What do you think the first step for anybody who wants to say, all right, it's time to start losing weight or it's time to, get back on my fitness journey? What do you think the first step would be for them?
Yeah, that depends. But I will say that the most important thing is don't do something that you can't see yourself doing for. Sounds weird to say, but for the rest of your life. So you have to find a volume of training that you don't mind doing, that you enjoy, that you could see yourself doing 3 or 4 times a week. So if you do it and you're miserable, it may work, but if you can only do it for 3 weeks and then you hate it, then it doesn't really work. So for some people, that maybe I just need to get 10,000 steps a day. I need to go for an hour walk instead of walk. Lay Norton says you got to find the form of restriction when it comes to diet that's least restrictive to you. And I can't say it any better myself. So whether it's intermittent fasting or keto or plant-based or whatever it is, you got to find the structure that has a couple rules that follow every single day and allows you to stay within your goals. So if you hate it, you're not going to stick to it. But if you like it and it's minimally restrictive to you, then that more likely than not is going to be the thing that's going to work for you long
Absolutely.
term. So yeah, don't be attracted to the shiny object, the new diet that you heard about that Karen is doing. Find the thing that you like doing that you can see yourself doing indefinitely.
Yeah. Did the keto thing, was not sustainable. Paleo for a
Yeah,
while wasn't really sustainable. And it's one of those things where I just settled into a lifestyle that works for me. I had my gummy
good.
bears here and there. I had ice cream on Sunday, but for the most part, I keep an eye on the kind of food that I'm eating throughout the week, and I indulge and I have my cheat meals whenever I can. Steve, I could go on and on and on talking more about fitness and all that, but that's our time. And I know for folks who might decide, okay, I'm ready to go on for the rest of my life. I'm wanting to get some tips. I want to make sure that they have an ability to reach out to you, follow you on Instagram, and even I know you have a Facebook group too, a free coaching Facebook group that people can kind of learn some more information on. I'd love for them to have those resources, man. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. On Instagram, I am dadbod_Steve. And on TikTok, all one word, dadbod Steve. Follow me there. And if you click the link in my bio, you can get access to my Facebook group where that's actually not open yet. There's kind of a waiting list for that, but it's going to be opening up soon. And I'm going to be putting good stuff in there. So any of those places is where you can find me. Ted, thanks so much for having me on, man. This has been amazing.
Yeah, man, this has been a lot of fun, and I'll be following you on Instagram too, keeping up with all your videos because I'll say the very least, I'll have those links in the show notes. And for anybody listening or watching, if you just go ahead and follow Steve, you will get a wealth of value already. Some of the workouts that you share, the meals, I saw a video not too long. You were talking about Greek yogurt. I never knew how to pronounce it. I thought it was like Faji.
Yeah, it's fire, I think is how
Fire.
you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's probably Greek, but I use the same Greek yogurt too. So love all the tips you share there, man. I
of
appreciate you
course.
taking the time to be on. You're crushing it. Keep doing what you're doing and helping men with busy lives lose weight and lose that dad bod for good. If you don't mind, I'm going to recap some of the gems you left along the way, as I usually do at the end of the episode, because I know some folks might be driving, might be working out while listening to this. So restriction. A lot of us talk about wanting to lose weight, but some form of restriction is needed. And I love how you said pick the restriction that's least restrictive to you, because that's what you're going to end up sticking to, right? A lot of us kind of go in head first in some diet, and how many times do we lose 30 pounds in 30 days and we find it in the next month, right? That's just not
Mhm.
sustainable. Rewire your brain. I love how you mentioned that. Is kind of like just seeing things a little differently. For a lot of times we're our own worst enemy, and rewiring our brain and how we absorb things, to see things, can even help rewire the way we act. Your total calories, that's what it's all about. And if you're not about tracking your calories, intermittent fasting, as we mentioned, is a quick way to limit your calories. And I'll even say we gave 2 hacks this episode, Steve, that I think these guys can implement right away is intermittent fasting and sticking to the outside of the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned intermittent fasting automatically reducing the amount of calories that you take in. And then also just sticking to the outside of the grocery store. Based on that study, you could save 500 calories a day. So just on those
Without
two,
trying.
with
Yeah.
those two practices alone, so not changing your workout routine, not changing your schedule, but you change your eating schedule, but for intermittent fasting and sticking to the outside of the grocery store, there you go. You're saving up to
Huge.
500 calories a day. Tracking. I love that you mentioned that too. Track leads to results, and also having those small attainable goals along the way. If you want to look like Ronnie Coleman, cool. But you will get discouraged after 2-3 months of working out, even a year of working out, because you will not be there yet. And I love one of the quotes I think Arnold Schwarzenegger said to someone he was training. He says, "I don't want to look like you." He says, "Don't worry, you won't." But that's the reality of really the endeavor that you hope to put on. And of course, those little goals help a long way. And empty stomach by going to sleep. That was huge because if I'm being honest, I don't do a good job at that. I eat late in the day and sometimes I go to sleep, and I do notice the next morning my sleep was suboptimal. So
Yeah.
those are some of the gems. I hope you guys got value from this. Steve, man, thanks again for rocking with us here on the Modern Man Show. I'm sure a lot of guys are going to get a lot of value from this. And for those of the guys that did, make sure you share this with a friend. I'm not trying to be that guy, but if you know somebody who could maybe use this information, go ahead and kind of just discreetly send it to them. Give us a like. We'd really appreciate that also. And leave us a rating to let us know how we're doing, because the only way we get better is with the feedback you give us. We have a new episode every single week, so hit that subscribe button, and we'll leave you guys with what we say at the end of every episode. Everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain, but you can't get the pleasure without first the pain. Let's grow.